control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back. Did you miss me? I missed all of you guys. Thanks so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for spending your evening tonight here with me as we enter the Paranormal Portal once again. Thank you so much. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and you got me for 2 full hours. We had a couple of nights off, and it was nice. It was good. It was nice to decompress and just, I don't know, remember what that felt like. It was pretty cool, pretty fun. But I did miss being here, and I'm so glad to be back with you guys. So thank you so much for showing up tonight and being a part of this. This is our return. We take Mondays and Tuesdays off now during the week. So we're no longer doing 7 days of streamings at 7 p.m., which is fun and fine. And maybe we'll go back to that. I don't know. We'll just wait and see what happens. But I just need to have some more time. So that's what's been going on. Throughout the duration of our show tonight, of course, you can call in and be a part of the journey if you want. I'd love to hear from you. It's always a big part of my life. But you can do that by dialing 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. The number's right up here above my finger on your screen. If you forget and want to call in later, like, oh, is that number? There it is. It's up there. It's up there. So I put it up there for your convenience, of course. Special thank you to everybody that's been checking out the podcast. It's been doing fantastic. We are, of course, in our season 2 now of the Paranormal Portal, and we are hard at it. And we don't do 3 episodes or 3 podcasts a week anymore either. So we were doing 10 episodes per week before, and it got to be so much. And it's not that we didn't enjoy doing it. It's so much to try to continually innovate and create new good shows that are fun to listen to and bringing you the best content we believe you deserve. And so we decided, rather than having this race to the finish every week, let's step back. And so we've been doing that. And we did a bonus this week as we re-aired Dean Harrison's first visit to the portal. Dean Harrison, of course, was on the show a couple times. The Yowie researcher from Australia, fantastic guy and amazing storyteller. And his episodes are up now on the podcast. And we did 2 releases, one on Sunday, part 1, and then part 2 basically today. I released it last night, but it really didn't seem to get anywhere until today, really. So, but that's out there, ladies and gentlemen. You can find our podcasts by going to Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Chatbox. There's so many of them, and we're working on Stitcher. That's still in the works. I'm not sure what the holdup is, but it's coming. Where Paranormal Portal is the number, I can barely see it. Just commit it to memory. That's the best. 720-923-0500. That's the number to fun here on the portal. So if you want to call in and be a part of the journey, that's how you do it. It's up there. It's up there. Damn it. It's there. I know it's there. It might be hard to see, but you just may need to go full screen to get the real appreciation. Not only for the phone number, but for me. No, I'm kidding. Maybe you want to keep that minimized. I'm not sure. But anyway, you can all stare at me if you want. That's fine. I got a good show lined up for you guys tonight. I think it's a good show, but I guess we'll find out how it all works out. We're just going to go into several different things, but we're going to touch on quite a bit of Bigfoot stuff tonight too, because we spent a lot of time on Dogman, the other two shows, the last 2 2-hour shows. Oh, by the way, this Saturday night on the 30th, we will be having Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC will be coming on. So that's Stephen Major. If you're familiar with his other visits to the show, he'll be returning this Saturday. And with him will be Dr. Robert Alley. So they're both going to be on the show. And one other gentleman, and I feel terrible. Let me get his name. He's someone that's going to be on as well. And his name is Will Grassman Ulmer. Will Ulmer will also be on. So it'll be the 3 gentlemen will be joining us, and they've been doing a lot of expeditions and research. So they're going to come on and talk about what they've been doing. And there's apparently another documentary coming out from Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC to document these things. So very cool. And so definitely tune in. Should be a good talk. Lots of Bigfoot going on the portal lately, and I know you guys love Bigfoot. There's no question when I look at how these shows are performing, there's no question that there's most of you guys respond and check out the Bigfoot, Dogman, cryptid shows, probably at like a 2-to-1 or more ratio. It's pretty intense. Now, this isn't just a Bigfoot show, but we certainly cover Bigfoot here as well as Dogman from time to time. So, it's not all we offer, but it's a very surprising the number of people that are really like seriously interested in the cryptids and stuff. So it'll be something that we're going to try to aim a little more of our content at, because I want to keep you guys happy. I want to give you guys the shows you want. And when I look at the numbers, that definitely looks like the shows you guys want to see. So we'll be hitting more of that, but we keep our spectrum open as well. And the thing is that I don't think that any one paranormal phenomena is really extraordinarily different from the other ones, except for the fact that the cryptids do really seem to be tangible creatures. Like they are physically present and interacting very physically with their surroundings. But can they do more? Perhaps. And those are things that we've talked about as well. But anyway, that's kind of the roadmap for tonight. So in essence, I don't really have a map. I'm just, I'm here doing a show, and I'm glad you're here joining me. So I hope you all are ready, because we're going in. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, and a special hello to everybody in the chat. I don't know how many are there. My counters are not working real good on my YouTube interface for the studio interface. So I've got 2 numbers, and I like the higher one, so we'll go with that. I assume there's more of you there than just 20. I got one counter saying 20, and then the other one saying we're in the 40s and we're climbing, so that's good. But definitely spread the word about the portal to people you know and know that are interested in the paranormal, because we always want to keep this growing. It's been growing really fantastically lately, but can never be fast enough. All right, so let's get started here. One of the first things I wanted to start with was something that we started the other night with, and it's a decent little excerpt. It was one that I think we started touching base on this one on Saturday night, and I think these are basically it's from liveabout.com, but it has to do with when Bigfoot attacks. Now, in reading through these, I did read a few of them, here and there. In reading through them, a lot of them aren't actually Bigfoot attacks, but they are, people's encounters with Bigfoot. So we'll get started here, if that sounds agreeable to y'all. So I was just telling you how much you guys love Bigfoot. That's why we're starting with Bigfoot. So the first one in this list, well, it's not the first one, but it's the first one we're touching on tonight. And this is one that I've done a show dedicated to this in the past. It's in the archives. And it has to do with the 1924 encounter of Albert Ostman. And if you're not familiar with Albert Ostman's encounter, you should really check it out. It really is a phenomenal, fantastic, bizarre story. I'm going to read their little excerpt that they have here on their list, but we'll talk a little bit more about it on the end here. It says, Albert Ostman is one of the few people who claim to have been abducted by Sasquatch. It happened while he was searching for a lost gold mine that he heard existed somewhere near the Toba Inlet. He had heard from an Indian guide about the legendary Sasquatch, but didn't take them seriously until he discovered that something was stealing food from his campsite at night. Then one night he was awakened by something picking him up while he was in his sleeping bag. He said, I was half asleep and at first didn't remember where I was, Ostman said. My first thought was, it must be a snowslide. But then it felt like I was tossed on horseback, but I could feel whoever it was walking. After hours of being carried, Ostman was finally dropped to the ground where he heard a strange-sounding chatter. It wasn't until dawn, however, that Ostman made his way out of his sleeping bag. He was astonished to find himself in the company of 4 Sasquatch. What appeared to Ostman to be a family, an adult male and female, and a young male and female, and he was able to provide detailed descriptions of the creatures, all of which, except for the young female, was enormous. Ostman claimed to have spent 6 days in the company of the Sasquatch family, and he decided that he had enough and fired his rifle into the air and made a run for it. Well, that's kind of a really, 10-cent close of that story, because that's not really, it didn't just go, hey, he got sick of it and shot his gun and then ran. It was much more detailed than that, and I don't know if I want to get into all of what happened, because I think that, I don't want to, you really got to experience the whole story, because it really is pretty extraordinarily detailed. And there's a lot about behaviors in there, about the family structure that he observed. Now, do I think that Albert Ostman had a real encounter? Because I know some people are really skeptical of it, but I think he did. I really do. He's not the only one to have been grabbed and basically displayed to Sasquatch. There's other stories of people, and I bumped into one of them, but it was so short, and I tried to find the full version for tonight's show, but I wasn't able to find the full version of it. But there's other stories of people being just grabbed and brought to a place where, Sasquatch kind of look at them and observe them. And one story in particular that I was really looking for tonight's show was a guy was canoeing, and I don't know if he was in Alaska or where he was exactly, but he was grabbed from his tent and hauled a short distance away, and there was 20 Sasquatch around, and they stared at him for quite a long time, like a period of hours. And he said that they were just seemed really curious about his presence, about what he was. And this story was from the early part of the 19th century too, or the 20th century rather. So it's I think it was from BC actually. Again, not too far from Albert Ostman's encounter as it happens, but it kind of stands to reason, because I think for the most part in many of these wild areas, seeing one of not the native community, but seeing one of the newer kind of people that came to North America with their modern clothes and equipment and stuff must have been a real oddity to these creatures, to these beings, and so that probably became quite a curiosity. But he said that after a period of time, this is me paraphrasing the story, they just seemed to finally just kind of get bored with it. Okay, we've seen it. And they started filtering off until there was just a few left. And he said he finally just made a run for it when there was just a handful left, and ran past his own campsite, got into his canoe, and from there, just beelined it out of there and escaped. I don't know that he was ever in any danger, because they were just curious, it looks like. I mean, they could have killed him anytime, obviously. But they were just wanting to see what was this strange-looking guy. And I guess after that experience, he never once again ever set foot in the wilderness. He was a trapper, I think was what it was. He never went back. It was his final adventure in the wilderness. Now, Do I think that story is real? Yeah, because this was a guy who was a trapper, and he gave up that livelihood. Now, back in those days, it wasn't like you could just, I'm going to work remotely from home on my computer. You had to have a real viable source of income, especially in those areas. And they were very, life was very hard back then by comparison. So you didn't just lightly quit doing what sustained you. So whatever happened to this guy was so profound and so incredible that he quit doing it. He just quit doing it. And so that's not a decision that obviously he took lightly. And the experience was so incredible that he just couldn't return to it. He couldn't go back because he was so terrified. So I think Albert Ostman's encounter is also real. I think that he experienced something amazing. The story of his getaway is much more elaborate than just firing his gun and deciding to ditch. And again, I'm just going to have to refer you guys to read it if you're not familiar with it, but it's actually kind of humorous in a large way. So, and creative on his part, but he maintained that story until he died. And the famous Bigfoot researcher, John Green, was the one who recorded it for and recorded it in the format that we have today. But John Green believed him, and, and apparently he was interviewed by law enforcement people as well, and they believed him. So, it's pretty profound. Now, there does seem to be, I don't think that, obviously, I think they all pretty much know that we're here and what we are now. So they don't usually grab people just to look at them anymore. The only thing I could say that is if we suddenly changed the way we camped or did things and brought out new things, then maybe they'd start grabbing people and grabbing our stuff to see what the hell it is. I think that they're that aware and involved with our presence in the wild places. I think that they're probably always out there watching. Like this is their deal. This is their homes, This is where they live. So, they seem to take a real interest in the people that are coming through their areas and what they have. So, the next one, this is actually where I got that story. Let me read the encounter. So this is 1928 in Vancouver, British Columbia. I forgot that I had actually read it on this page, the one that I just told you about. Let me read the actual excerpt that they have here on this article. It says a trapper named Muchalat Harry, or Muchalat, it's Muchalat. Muchalat Harry also claimed to have been kidnapped by Bigfoot. The powerfully built Indian of the Nootka tribe was plying his trade in one of his favorite hunting grounds around the Conuma River that autumn. Like Ostman, Harry was picked up in his sleep, bedding and all, and carried for about 3 miles by large Sasquatch. When set down, he found himself surrounded by about 20 of the creatures, both male and female, which he at first thought planned to eat him. Well, as their campsite was littered with large bones, the creatures poked and prodded Harry, seemingly puzzled by his clothing. And after a while, they appeared to grow tired of the human curiosity, and many left the camp. Seeing his chance, Harry made a run for it, running right past his own camp to his canoe on the river, and he never went trapping in the woods again. So I guess he was actually native. So that was my mistake. I misread that or misrelated anyway. But again, this is 1928. I'm sure there wasn't a lot of other job opportunities in that area. So to quit doing something like that was a huge statement. And the next one is from China. And then, of course, is the home of the Yeren. The Chinese Bigfoot is called the Yeren. This is on a May afternoon on a sparsely populated Chinese province. Zhu Fudi heard her young daughter screaming. The girl had been tending the family's cattle, and Zhu Fudi hurried to see what had happened, and she was startled to see her daughter struggling futilely in the arms of a young Yeti, the Asian version of Bigfoot. Yu Fudu rushed at the Yeti with a stick of wood and began to beat the creature. It tried to escape through a paddy field, but was slowed by the thick mud, and more women from the village joined in beating the creature to death. So terrified were they of this strange creature that they cut its carcass into pieces. Eerie cries of mourning were heard from the hills the next day. Wow. That's incredible. They must have it's amazing. They must have had a really good swing. Wow. That's incredible. I'd never heard that story before. The next one is 1977 in Wantage, New Jersey. New Jersey of all places, right? Well, it's 1977. It says New Jersey isn't the first place one thinks of when Sasquatch is mentioned, but this reported attack comes from a rural area of that state in the month of May. The Seitz family was, I don't know, the site. Oh, that's the name of the family, Seitz. Okay. I was like, what about their site? Okay. The Seitz family was disturbed by something that had broken into their barn and crushed several of their rabbits to death. The predator returned that night, and the Seitz saw it clearly standing in their well-lit yard. It was big and hairy, Mrs. Seitz reported. It was brown. It looked like a human with a beard and mustache. It had no neck, and it looked like its head was just sitting on its shoulders. It had big, red, glowing eyes. When the Seitz dog attacked it, the creature effortlessly swatted it away, sending it flying about 20 feet. On subsequent nights, the creature was seen several more times by the Seitz. So there you have them. Only a few of the more well-known cases of close encounters with Sasquatch. Are they true stories or just tall tales? That's how the article ends. Are they tall tales? Ba-dum-bum. Thank you very much. That's lovely. But there you have it. They are good stories. There are several. I'm sure several of these have much longer and robust details to them. But it's a good overview. It's pretty crazy. Wow. I don't know what that would be like. That would have to be about the most horrifying thing ever, to be abducted by a Sasquatch. I mean, because you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're going to do. There's nothing you can do either. I mean, just what can you do? Unless you got a bunch of angry villagers with sticks, I guess that works. But other than that, people are generally at a loss to what to do. Now, I find that very curious, though, because there are stories of Sasquatch actively attacking people. And I think there was, I think it's the one that Duke was referring to when he called in the other night. But there was one where, no, maybe not. But there's an old story, and I think it has to do with like the old days, like the 1800s. People recorded a incursion with a group of Sasquatch, and there was some military guys, and they charged in at them, and I guess these Squatch like literally were popping heads off of people, and that's absolutely horrifying. So there's one woman there are these women with sticks in the rice paddies were able to allegedly beat this thing to death. I don't know. Maybe it was a small one. Maybe it was wounded. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just not capable of defending itself. I don't know. But just knowing their physical presence and strength and ability, it seems really fantastical to think that several people that it would just stand there and let these women beat it to death. Because if it was slowed down by mud in the paddies, how much faster were these women? Or was it because of the weight? Like it was so much heavier, it sunk deeper? I don't know. Very strange, though. That's a strange tale. I don't know what to think of that one. But it's all there for posterity's sake anyway. And that's the conclusion of that article. Let me wait for my computer to catch up. It's not quite as responsive as I'd like. Okay, now the next one is one that I had pulled up as well, and for one of the previous shows. And it's not a long article. It's really rather short, but it's coming from Cryptozoology News, and it's .com, of course. And it's California lawyer. I was attacked by a Bigfoot. So let's see what a California lawyer has experienced here. A group of men claim a Bigfoot creature attacked them at a mountain in Sierra Nevada. A San Francisco lawyer who didn't provide a last name said he and a group of friends decided to go camping to Diablo Campground for the holiday weekend. We got everything set up before dark. We had set up a campfire. We started telling stories like we did when we were kids. And he told Bigfoot enthusiast Reverend Jeff Kelly, oh yeah, Reverend Jeff, I'd been watching Finding Bigfoot on TV, and I told the guys about a story not too far from here about campers who had a Bigfoot come right into their camp. Well, no one believed it to be true, as there are no monsters in these woods, so we all just drifted to sleep that first night. According to High, torrential rain had cleared most of the campground in the morning, and they were the only ones left. It was just us and a few RVs, and we decided to take a ride up in the mountains, and for something to do, we managed to get up on a ridge just as the sun fell over the hill. I stopped the car, and we all got out. Reportedly, High and his friends were talking about how spooky it is to be out in the woods at night, and he decided to whack a tree against a tree branch against a tree in order to startle the group. And they were laughing, but then something knocked back. It wasn't very far away, and that's when the fun ended for us all. He said, adding that they immediately headed back to their vehicle to get out of the area. But, he explains, as he started the car and tried to maneuver his way out of the wet ground, a large beast stepped out into the road. My lights lighted up its hairy face, and it raised a melon-sized boulder over its head and threw it at the car. The rock bounced off the front fender, leaving a huge dent, and the beast roared out so loud that I panicked and hit the gas, nearly hitting it as we passed it. We were screaming, and it was screaming back at us. The group of friends decided to wait until daylight before heading home. After all, he said, there were monsters in those woods. To this day, I haven't been back to the mountains, said the lawyer. Alleged incidents involving these unproven animals throwing objects at campers are frequently reported. Let's see if this is a link. Maybe I can get that. Because it says last year, a Kentucky man who claimed to have encountered one of these beasts while camping with his family at Taylorsville Lake said the big animal had thrown a rock at him. So hopefully this link works. It does. It's the bonus round, ladies and gentlemen. We just hit the bonus round. I got to remember to check the call board. It's funny, just 2 days off, right? Just 2 days. And I'll be damned if I didn't almost forget how to start the show. I'm like, I think I'm all set. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to do this. I forgot to do that. And I'm looking around like, what's not right? And I was remembering some of the lights that I have to manually turn on. It's like, oh, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting towards that dementia phase. I don't know. It's only been 2 days, but it's so funny how things become almost muscle memory. Like you don't really even think about doing them anymore. It's just, you just do them. And then once you take a break from that and coming back to it, it's like, what was it I did now? You know, I don't know. That's how my head works, ladies and gentlemen. Good, bad, or otherwise. I can't help it. I tell you guys I missed you. I did. I miss doing the shows when I'm not doing them. All right, so let's see what this one is. It says, Bigfoot stares at man for 2 minutes, throws rock. That's the headline. Bigfoot stares at man for 2 minutes, comma, throws rock. I don't know if that's really as punchy as it needed to be, but oh well. It started with Bigfoot, so it's hard to go wrong after that. And this again is coming from cryptozoologynews.com. It's a great site, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, go to Cryptozoology News and check it out. And this one is Louisville, Kentucky. A man said he found a Bigfoot last week while camping with his family at Kentucky's Taylorsville Lake. The man, who didn't provide a name, says they were sleeping in their tents when a loud howl startled them at around 2 a.m. Yeah, that's pretty common. It always starts with a howl. Prompting the father to go out and investigate with the help of a flashlight. And I was standing, and I was shining it like this, and I had my gun right here. Obviously, this is a visual thing, but I had my gun right here, and the whole time I was shining it. I was moving my eyes to the left and the right. And when I did that, I caught what would look like two animal eyes down there, and it caught my attention, he told Kentucky investigator Charlie Raymond. I don't know what here, there, and all that stuff is. That's not translated well into an article, but, reportedly, after being able to make out the shape of its head and shoulders, the animal stood up. At the time, I was scared, but I was also kind of excited. What the hell is this? He recalls about the incident. I had eye contact. He had eye contact with me. I had my gun on me. I wasn't afraid. I was afraid for my family. And I know that if anything, I could stop it from hurting them. And I yell at my wife and kids that we are leaving. I said, go get the stuff out of the tents. Leave the tents where they lay and get in the car. We're going to leave. And as his wife and kids were packing their things up, he says, the staring contest continued for about 2 minutes. I can hear my wife saying, we got everything. And me being just a typical curious person, I said, honey, because the whole time I'm watching it, it wasn't moving. I was staying right there. And I said, come here, you got to take a look at this. And she's like, get in the car now. Get in the car now, he said. After hearing his son Leo crying, he turned around to calm him down. And it was at that moment, according to the witness, that the animal threw a rock and hit a nearby tree. I don't know if it was bark or if it was pieces of the rock, but a couple of pieces kind of hit my cheek, And that's when the beast decided to walk away. Later on in the car, I kind of choked me up. My son said, I just had this imagination that I would look at you and something would drag you into the woods, he said. The witness didn't provide a physical description of the creature. Taylorsville Lake is a 1,200 acre state park located in Spencer County, Kentucky, between Louisville and Lexington. The state of Kentucky has reported an unusual number of Bigfoot sightings this year. Last March, a child said he had seen a creature that looked like a monkey staring at him through a window outside of his house. In May, a man from Jenkins claimed he had an encounter with the beast that made his legs shake. Let me see. This one's linked too. I just want to see if it opens. Yeah. Well, this is great. I got a whole chain of stories here just by accident. Cryptozoology news. I like it. This is the child sees Bigfoot on window. Let me see. It doesn't say where. I'm not seeing where. Okay, so it says a 10-year-old boy says he saw a Bigfoot staring at him through a window outside his home. Well, I woke up in the bed and I heard tapping at the window. I went over and looked at it, and I saw Bigfoot's face. I don't even know what that would be like. What would that be like to just, how it is at night where you got light inside and so you mostly see your own reflection? But then if you get close enough and block out the light, suddenly there's a huge face looking back at you. Oh my God. That'd be a Charmin moment, as Vic Cundiff says. A Charmin moment. That cracks me up. All right, let me get a drink and I'll read this. Let's see what this Charmin moment is like. A 10-year-old boy said he saw Bigfoot staring at him through a window outside of his home. Well, I woke up in the bed and I heard a tapping at the window. I went over and looked at it, and I saw Bigfoot's face. And I was looking at it, and it was staring at me. Well, I jumped out of bed, and I ran, and I came back, it was gone. The boy said to his father on an interview uploaded to the YouTube channel Larry Johnson, by the channel's description, it can be inferred that the event took place somewhere in the state of Kentucky in the United States. The witness described the beast as looking like a monkey, like an ape, with what appeared to be wrinkles on its forehead. The eyes, he says, were brown, and his mouth was closed when it was looking at the boy. Reportedly, after keeping eye contact with the animal, the kid ran into the hallway, and by the time he came back into the bedroom to check on the window again, he explains Bigfoot wasn't there anymore. I thought it was you at the windows, tapping at the windows, the young witness said to his father, explaining why he didn't bother to tell anyone until the next morning. And there is a link here to watch it, but unfortunately, we don't have permission to do that. And I don't need a copyright strike. But here's the thing. I often wonder about this because I don't know if Chacha, are you talking about this story or something else? Is that what is the deal with that? I mean, we hear stories of them looking in windows all the time. I mean, that seems to be a big form of entertainment for them. But what would they need from a child's bedroom? I mean, there's nothing going on in there. The boy's in his bed, presumably asleep. I don't know what time it was. I don't recall. It just said that he saw a Bigfoot. I woke up in the bed and I heard a tapping. Yeah, so I mean, he was already asleep. So what is a Bigfoot doing watching a child sleep? And what the hell's the point of that? I don't know. Now, I've often wondered the same thing about some of these spiritual things. Like we hear stories of people waking up and there's a face like right in their face and it's a ghostly face. And I think that would probably be about the worst way to wake up ever in the history of waking up. Like that would be the most horrible thing to wake up to, is to wake up and just right up to your face is a ghost. I mean, that is just horrible. But what occurs to me now as I'm asking that question is that there is a lot of people believe that these Bigfoot are telepathic, that they can mind speak. But if they're telepathic, they can read minds. So is it similar? Is it a similarity that because my belief with spirits is that they are also, can hear your thoughts, can look into your mind and see what's going on. It's all energy. But if Bigfoot are telepathic to the point that they can have conversations and, such as is reported, can they also see people's dreams? Can they see those mental images that are forming and what's going on in those? And is that possible? That's what I think the spirits are doing. I think that there must be something about dreams. Either they're trying to influence the dreams in the spiritual sense, maybe to induce fear, if it's one of those darker types of spirits. If they induce fear, then do they feed off of it, which is another belief. But so there's a whole chain of supposition here. But it is at least a common denominator that there is reports of Bigfoot being telepathic, of being able to communicate with mind speak. People talk about mind speak. They can speak directly into your mind, and and they can hear what you're thinking as well. And that's also why people, will say that you just can't sneak into the woods and find them, because they can tell you're there already. They already are catching your thoughts out in there, wherever they are. So is it possible that these Bigfoot that are staring in at children or staring in at people while they sleep are trying to see your dreams? Are they seeing your dreams? Is that a function of telepathy? And maybe it is. Maybe it is. If they can read minds, could they read your dreams? And that's an interesting idea. I don't know. It's a huge stretch. It's a huge stretch. I'm not putting a huge amount of stock in what I just threw out there, but it did occur to me, so I'm sharing it with you guys. And come up to your own conclusions. I don't know what to think about that. I just find it really disturbing that, especially being a father, if I found out a Bigfoot was staring in a window at my sons, I would freak. I mean, I would just be beyond myself. Because there are the stories of them eating people. There is stories of them, tearing people apart. And who could just idly just hear that and not get really super concerned? I'd love to believe that their motives are altruistic, but I'm not naive enough to think that. Maybe they're going to grab your kid. Maybe, it's just a pane of window. It's a pane of glass. It's not like they couldn't get in. They could pull the entire window frame and all right off the side of your house. So I don't think that, that's really a barrier. There's not a safety, in sleeping on the other side of a window. So if they did want to take him, I guess they could have already. They wouldn't sit there tapping. But, I don't know. It's extraordinarily curious, and it's extraordinarily concerning. But maybe it is a telepathy thing. Maybe they can just watch the dreams or get an idea of what the person is experiencing while they're sleeping. I don't know. Just a thought. I'm just putting it out there to you guys. You guys will have to come to your own conclusions. Again, I have no grounds to, try to think that that's actually the solution, but it is a curiosity and it is a consistency. Oftentimes doing this show, I've said that there's so many behaviors that are duplicated or phenomena that are duplicated across different types of paranormal events, whether it's ghost, UFO, cryptid. And that's one of those that the Bigfoot kind of bleeds through. And we see that same behavior represented in the spirit world, in spiritual encounters. So, I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I don't know. I don't have anything more to add to it, I guess, but it's definitely, it definitely would concern the hell out of me. Being a parent, especially, but just being uncertain as to what these beings want. What do they want? Why do they watch? I mean, many people believe that that's the entertainment. And I suppose if you're out there living along the sticks and the streams and the forest, that it probably gets a little boring. And so let's go see what the people are doing. What are they doing? What do they have now? What kind of weird stuff do they have in their homes? So I guess it's a form of entertainment, and that makes sense to me. I think I'd be staring at people's windows if I lived out in the forest too, just for something to look at, something to stimulate your mind. Because I think that they are intelligent, and I think that that's pretty commonly agreed upon, is that they are extraordinarily intelligent. There's a lot of discrepancy as to what level. Are they intelligent like a small child? Are they intelligent like an adult? Or are they more intelligent? Those are all ideas that are held out there. Some people believe that they're these super evolved spiritual presences and the guardians of the forest, whatever. And maybe they are, but maybe they're not. And that's the thing. That's the gamble, right? So when you go out into the woods and you're actively looking for these things, which version are you going to find? And are both versions out there? Are there the wise, gentle ones? And then are there the ones that'll rip your head off? And I think there are. I think that there's that much diversity in these creatures, in these beings. Just some thoughts. I'm just throwing them out on the table because it's what I do. And I do it as well as I know how. So we're going to read the other one that they had linked in here. And this one was another Kentucky encounter. And again, this is, from Cryptozoology News. And it's coming from Jenkins, Kentucky. It says, and this one's really, no, I guess it's not too short. It's okay. It says, a man claims he had an encounter in 2012 with an unidentified creature that made his legs shake. Tim, who also provided his last name but was omitted for probable privacy reasons, says he was deer scouting in the woods of Letcher County when he witnessed the animal. Was in a hollow called Dark Hollow, coming off the top of the ridge in what is known as Pine Ridge, at the end of an old logging and mining road. Just as I was about to step off the embankment to the logging mining road, I hear a loud whoosh. So loud, I'm sure my eyes crossed, and short moments later, whoosh. So I yelled loud as I could, wanting to warn whatever it was that I was there. So thinking it possibly might be a bear, elk, or big cat, I shot around from my 30-30, trying to show it along its merry way. And again, whoosh, he told the crypto crew. And he then shot a third time, and he says, letting the animal know that he wasn't there to play, before calling his brothers to ask for help. But the brother was trick-or-treating with his daughter, so he couldn't make it, he said. So he decided it was time to get to his vehicle on his own. Legs shaking, I backed away from the direction of the whooshing sound was coming from, and I kept the embankment between me and the creature and looked back about 50 yards with blurry, watery eyes and seen the thing just standing there upon arriving to my vehicle, he continued. According to the eyewitness, the creature was about 7 feet tall and approximately 400 pounds, and it had a dark brown color. And Tim says it had no muscular or body features. The state of Kentucky has been a hotspot for Sasquatch sightings and similar incidents this year. Last week, a man and his friends said they were fishing on the Green River Lake in Taylor County when they heard unidentified screams that set the men in a state of fear. In March 2014, a child from, we saw that staring through the window. So that one's linked here too. But this fishing one, I guess we can check that one out too. We're just on a trail here, ladies and gentlemen, chasing these stories. But the whoosh sound, is that infrasound? Is that an audible version of infrasound? Was he getting hammered by that? Because his legs were wobbling. His body started to quake and shake. And, you think it's a bear. Well, hunters run into bear quite a bit, and they don't get shaky legs and stuff. I mean, that's not what happens. But he was running into something. And whatever it was giving him enough of an adrenaline release that his legs were quaking. He was shaking. And I can imagine that would be pretty horrendous. But it makes me wonder when I was reading it, is that the sound of infrasound? And most often people don't know they're getting zapped. There's not a lot of people that claim I heard the infrasound. And because it's not normally audible, I don't think. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I wondered that as I was reading. Is he getting zapped? People call it zapped, getting zapped. Maybe. It could very well be. Anybody? Anyone? All right. So, just another good story. Again, I think anytime you go into the woods, again, I think they know we're there. And I really, as time goes on, like I've been doing this for a few years now, and I really thought, I got to tell you, my whole definition of what Bigfoot Sasquatch has continued to evolve. First, I had to, I can't say that I don't know that they phase or cloak or anything like that. I don't know that because I've not experienced it personally, but I don't think that people are making that up either. They're seeing something happening. So I think it's plausible and possible. It's hard to say it's plausible. It's hard to understand. It seems impossible. But there again, we don't understand a lot about our world anyway, and all of our own abilities. So how do we pretend to understand what's capable for everything else? So they may be that. Now the other thing that has evolved in my time doing this show is the fact that I've come to understand that there's quite a diversity in these beings. As we just stated a little bit ago, I think there's the good ones, the ones that are gentle and don't want to have any problem. They're just trying to live and subsist and without conflict. I think that that's probably more common in these beings, is that they seem to have a peaceful nature for the most part, because for as many encounters as there are of people seeing them, 99% of the encounters are very peaceful. They might be kind of terrifying, but when you look at the possibilities of what could happen in all of these encounters, everybody that encounters them could be dead. I mean, everyone that's experienced a Bigfoot could be dead, but they're not. And I think that that's an incredibly conscious decision on the part of these beings, is that they're choosing not to. And I think that that's a profound thing. I think that's incredibly profound. And that really does denote intelligence, because they could very easily chase down any person, anyone. Doesn't matter if it's an Olympic sprinter. They could chase them down in a heartbeat and pop their head off or smash them into pudding or whatever, I mean, it's not like we can put up any kind of serious resistance to that kind of physical prowess. The other thing that has evolved is that how widespread they are. So when I first heard about Bigfoot was in the 70s. It was on a television program called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy. And that's where I learned about this in the Patterson-Gimlin film. And it was something that was in the Olympic Peninsula, in the Pacific Northwest. That's where it was. That's where I heard it was. And there was never any illusion or alluding to the idea that it could be anywhere else. It was just there. I believed it. I didn't have any doubt. I was a believer from the first time I heard about it. But then, as I had my experience when I was 14, and years later found out how widespread they are, and then it became like, wow, maybe I was really close to one of these things, because I had heard that growl. I was shook by that growl, and frozen in absolute terror and panic. And it wasn't because I couldn't move. It's just that I didn't dare move until we finally decided there was no other option. And then we moved. But I was frozen. I was locked in place because whatever made that sound, whatever growled behind me, was so incredibly big. It was going to kill me. I just really knew in that moment, through my entire being, that whatever made that sound was about to kill me. And it's like, I couldn't move. And the one solace I had was that I didn't know what it looked like. But that was also my one regret. So I couldn't look at it because I didn't want that to be the last thing I saw in the world, was this thing coming to kill me. I was just frozen. I was locked. And we stood there, and it was when, it was the, what is that? I don't know, but we got to get the hell out of here. It was that quick discussion. And as I said in my stories, when I related them, people talk about, don't run. But there was no fight. And there's only fight or flight. You got two options. There's only either you fight it or you leave. You get the hell out of there. And I knew whatever made that sound wasn't something I could fight. It wasn't even going to be a contest. I couldn't even put up a resistance. I was, just pudding. And so all we had left was flight. And so we did. And it didn't pursue, which again shows that restraint, because it could have. I was a 14-year-old kid with a 15-year-old friend. There's nothing we could have done. We didn't have any weapons. Maybe a pocket knife, but that's just ridiculous. So, but that was when I learned years later, after carrying that with me for all these years, because I didn't know for decades what the hell that noise was. I just knew that whatever it was big. And this is an area that only has like white-tailed deer as the biggest wild animal. That's it. There's no bears, there's no mountain lions, no cougars, nothing. Just deer, and they don't growl. So for so long I carried that in my head, and it's always been back there. Like, what the hell could that have been? But I had nothing, no point of reference, nothing. So it just stayed there as this question mark until I started looking into the Bigfoot phenomena and found out that there are reports all over the U.S. I was like, and then I started learning the things that people attribute to them, like tree breaks, like structures, like, things like that. And I went back into those woods as an adult and found tree breaks, and I found a structure that wasn't made with any cut logs. It was just these broken logs that made this small structure. And it's almost like a playpen. That's the best way I could describe it. It wasn't big. It was, I could have gotten into it and crawled in there, but it was abandoned when I found it, long abandoned, but something built it. Someone built it. And these woods aren't a place. They were a nature preserve. So it wasn't like there was hunters going in there making little deer blinds. There was no hunting in there. There was nothing like that. It was just a preserve. And I found other little bits of evidence, and it occurred to me, oh my God, that was what I heard all those years ago. That was the sound I heard. It was maybe one of these things. Now, I didn't have the visual confirmation, but just all those pieces fit together for me finally after carrying that for all those years. And it became just this epiphany. And then correlating other weird things, like the story that I shared before on the show about my brother being a deer hunter and hitting a deer, and they got it good, and it was bleeding out big. And he and his friend followed the blood trail into this thicker part of the woods where the blood trail just stopped, and there couldn't have been any more blood in the deer. He's like, there's no way. It took another step, but there was no gut pile. The blood trail just stopped. There was no drag marks where someone dragged it out. There was nothing that showed us, anything. It's just that deer was just gone. It disappeared. And this is a big buck. So it wasn't field dressed. It wasn't, opened and removed of all those organs that they don't need, that people don't eat, and leaving gut piles out there. It wasn't anything. It was just gone. And so all these pieces kind of just flooded together, and it's like, they're here. They're here. And so I was surprised to learn that. But in doing the show and hearing some of the reports of how close they are to urban areas, they're close to cities. I think that if you have a forest around, any kind of woodland, it's possible that they could be there. And that to me speaks of how incredibly adaptable these beings are. And if you think about how wasteful we are, our garbage is just full of, amazing bounty to a wild animal or like bears and things. I mean, God, you ever want to go bear watch? In bear country, you go to the dumps because there's bears digging through garbage, getting all kinds of food. We're incredibly wasteful. And so why wouldn't a really smart being that lives wild, why wouldn't it decide to just come closer and live the easy life off of us? And I think that they do. So it could be, urban areas that have, forest areas around them or in them or through them could very well be occupied at least sometimes by these beings. So my whole definition of what is Bigfoot has largely changed over the course of doing this show. And my understandings have evolved, and they're always evolving. It's not like suddenly I have this sorted out, but at least I have a little bit better structure to build on now. So, and that's what this show has done for me. Among a million other things, of course. It's not just redefined Sasquatch for me, but that's one of the things that has been a result of doing the show. My view of spirituality, spiritual encounters has changed drastically too. I think we all think we have an understanding, an idea of these things, but as you dig into it, as you talk to people, and as you hear their experiences, it evolves if you let it. And that's that last phrase, that last sentence, I think was key though, because there's a lot of people that don't let their ideas evolve. They just want to be right. And I think that's where the bad information comes on the paranormal, is that these people don't want to learn anymore because they want to be the one that's right. There's a lot of ego in the paranormal. There's an incredible amount of ego out there of people that want to be the experts. And there are none. There's no such thing. There's no experts in this. We don't know what the hell we're dealing with. But we have ideas and we have theories and we have concepts, and it's important to continue to test them and to challenge them and to let them evolve, because then maybe you will have a better understanding. But we got a long way to go, that's for sure. Being right makes you dumb. That should be a t-shirt, Farm. That should be a t-shirt. That spelling's not right, Cha-Cha, but other than that, you're doing okay. I love the chat room. That's one of the things I missed about not doing the shows the last couple nights. That's for sure. Hey, Blue Line guys, good to see you. Or is that Jake or Adam now? I don't know who's Blue Line anymore. I'm so confused. I don't know. I'd love to be able to just kick back and look at the chat, but I can't. I like reading through it though from time to time to see what the hell you guys are talking about. Well, thank you, Kathy. Kathy says, for sure, Brent. I like to be right too. All right, so where was I? Did I open this one? I did, I think. Man encounter. This one I read. Yep, that's the one I just read. So let's go to this one. This is Oh, Bigfoot Screams recorded in Kentucky. Now, again, we won't be able to play them. But I had read that one. Oh, we got to read that one, too. That's another cryptid, but there's a reference to the Pope Lick monster, and I think that'd be kind of fun to dig into that a little bit, too. But this one is Bigfoot Screams recorded in Kentucky Lake. In the lake or around it? English is your friend. Oof. I'm so hydrated. All right, let's see what the Bigfoot Screams. It says Campbellsville, Kentucky. A man captured the sound Wednesday of what he believes could be a Sasquatch screaming in the nearby woods of a lake in Kentucky. Timmy, he goes by Timmy. Timmy Purdue, a musician who moved from Washington, D.C. to Kentucky years ago, says he and his friend Anthony were catfishing in the Green River Lake in Taylor County when the event took place. We arrived there around midnight, and after about 30 minutes, we started to hear what sounded like disturbing screams coming from the woods across the lake. He says the channel is pretty narrow where we were fishing, and I'm guessing whatever we heard was anything from 5 to 2 miles away. That's quite a spread. He added, the craziness of the moment, I grabbed my iPhone from the tackle box and began recording. The 4-minute-long video titled Kentucky Sasquatch Screams Caught on Tape and uploaded to YouTube starts with a music track. He's a musician. And a forward, followed by a 1-minute dark segment where you can hear the two men reacting to the disturbing sounds happening in the background. I had chills, Purdue said, before another scream is heard. Oh my God, he continues. Got scared, Anthony's faded voice points out. I'm serious, dude. I think I'm getting chills, Purdue replies in a nervous laughter. It's like so many different noises. It sounds like something is dying over there. Do you hear that scream? Listen. I've never heard that before in my life. The footage then turns to an enhanced audio version where the alleged screams are noticeably clearer. I'll tell you that there are no campers or people there from what I could see, and after the screams subsided, not another sound was heard. No talking, no engines, nothing, he explains. Even though the first time the sounds appear to be some sort of nocturnal birds, such as owls, the enhanced version of the audio doesn't appear to go in that direction. Being the skeptic that I am, I thought maybe it was a barn owl, but there were what sounded like at least a dozen of these screams at once, and owls generally do not live or travel in groups. Also, the screams were constant for about 30 to 45 minutes, with no break in between, and I imagine that the odds of a dozen barn owls screeching for half an hour are pretty slim. Definitely was not an owl or a barn owl, said the young musician, not saying that it was a Sasquatch, but it was scary nonetheless. The barn owls are a rare species in Kentucky, and they live in groups of 2 only during mating season or while raising the young. But there are generally solitary creatures that hunt for their prey at night. Nesting starts in spring, March through May, but surprisingly, biologists in Kentucky have found out that double brooding sometimes may occur in 2010. Nesting activity was documented to continue into late summer, all the way through December, which could indicate an attempt by the raptor to raise 2 nests of young in 1 year. Purdue, who admits he's always enjoyed the folklore of mysterious creatures and watches TV shows for a good laugh every now and then, says he doesn't believe in any of it, but recognizes that the purported screams he heard that night have made him question and entertain those possibilities. I know that there's always videos like these and people alike who will say it's staged or the wind or something, which is fine. I don't care. I just wanted to share this because I thought it was insane and it actually happened. This is one of the craziest nights I have spent outdoors in my life thus far. I'm not a gullible idiot, and I've spent my whole life outdoors. I've become accustomed to the sounds of nature, but never once have I heard what I've heard tonight. And I don't know if I ever will again, Purdue said. In March 2014, this is the other links then. We've covered all those. So this is the Pope Lick Monster one. This is the one I wanted to touch on because that's one you don't hear much about. And it's linked to the top 5 most unusual cryptids. Is it in here? Yeah, it is. Okay. That's interesting. Well, we can read about that, I guess. Can read about the top 5 mysterious creatures in just a minute. God, it's already after 8. What the hell happened? How are we into the last hour already? This is my surprised face. I guess when you step away for a couple days and then you come back to it, you forget how that time moves. I'm usually much more cognizant of the time, but apparently less so today than usually. Well, that's weird. There's an ad with there's an ad. It's called verastelka.com, and it's got this all kinds of crazy stuff like camping gear and jackets, and then there's it's like a grid of different ads, and in the one corner there's women's underwear. It's like, really? You just threw that in with your camping gear and your knives? Oh my God. I'm going to put it up so you guys can see it. Tell me if you think this is good advertising. I need a tent and the missus, she needs some underwear. All right, let's get this up. I don't know why everything else closed. That's crazy. There we go. I'll put it up for you guys to see right now. You can see there's this one. this ad right here. So it's like all this different camping stuff, knives, jackets, whatever the hell, all this backpacks, straps, and then women's underwear. I guess they got the one-stop shop that helps everybody's needs. I guess if you're going to go camping, extra underwear is probably a good idea. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can't make this stuff up. I don't know who's in charge of their marketing, but they need to get slapped. That's about the stupidest thing I've seen in a long time. I used to work in marketing, and I wasn't ever very good, but I was better than that. Oh, I got another one over here on the other page. This has a price. Those underwear, ladies and gentlemen, are apparently about $16. So I don't know why, but they are. Okay, let's get to this top 5 most unusual cryptids. Let me drag it back over here so it's easier to see. Oh, damn it. I didn't want to do that. Stop it. I got to get that snapping crap off my computer. I hate it. When and what snapping is when you drag a window towards the edge, it just becomes part of the window. Like it takes up a certain segment of the screen, and then it shifts everything else into other segments of the screen. It's like, God, it pisses me off. My life's already hard enough, damn it. There, I need that, and I need this. My underwear is... What the hell said that? Nessie says my underwear is the tent. Ah! Nessie's got back. Sorry, I went old school. All right. Let's see what the hell is going on here. Paranormal Portal. Bikini panties? What the hell is that? Bikini? P-A-H-K-I-N-A. Bikini? Is that like bikini? But I don't know. I mean, I'll open the link if you think if you want more information. But apparently they're $16, so they must be something special. I don't know. All right, let's see these 5 most unusual cryptids. Oh, I gotta get my phone board up. Hold on, one more. There it is. Not only did it snap everything to that window, but then it closed everything else. So, see, it closed that too. Damn it. There we go. All right, I'm catching up. It's like riding a bike. All right. Most people have heard about Bigfoot, Chupacabra, Mothman, or even the skunk ape. Unfortunately, many other less-known cryptids go usually unnoticed. So, surprisingly, most of these cryptids live near you. So we got that going for us, ladies and gentlemen. Not only are they out there, but they might be in your neighborhood. So this one's called the Chickcharney, Chickcharney, all one word, Chickcharney. A giant flightless owl native to the Bahama Islands of Chickcharney has a furry feathered body and is about 5 feet tall. Scientists believe this cryptid could be the Tytopollens, a 3 feet barn owl that inhabited the area until the logging of the forest occurred in the 16th century. After its habitat was destroyed, this species of owl supposedly disappeared. Whether the two owls are the same species or not remains the subject of controversy among experts today. Some reports claim that these giant birds make an awful, scary, almost primate sound in the dark night, and locals believe its mere sightings brings good luck, and an encounter with the animal is commonly sought after. So I guess it's a good luck kind of thing. Now this one's I'll read it, but I gotta talk about this one afterwards. This one is Momo the Monster. In 1971, 2 witnesses reported seeing a 7-foot ape-like creature with huge pumpkin-shaped head in Missouri. And even though at first sight the beast resembles the popular Bigfoot, they are not, in theory, genetically related. Well, how the hell can you say that? How can you tell? How can you tell what's genetically related just by its appearance? I mean, if that was the case, we're not genetically related to chimpanzees, except we are. What is it? There's only like 3% difference between us and chimpanzees genetically. And we look a hell of a lot different. So how can somebody make a statement like that? Momo purportedly shares reptilian and primate DNA. Reports by witnesses of 2 lizard eyes attached to its big bumpy head attest to the mixed genetic claim. Its horrible emitted odor has been reported or recorded as being very intense, and many cryptozoologists erroneously considered this enough evidence of a family linked to the skunk ape. Domestic animals, dogs, goats, and cats are parts of the animal's dietary menu. Well, yeah, I mean, not only is it have a stinky smell, but it's 7 feet tall and it looks like an ape. So I don't know. I think that's much more likely than it being a lizard-ape hybrid. I don't think that there's any possibility that those two genetics are likely to combine outside of a lab. So, I mean, how do you get a genetic species that has both primate and lizard DNA in it? I don't think that could occur naturally in 100 billion years. So I don't know. I mean, not that I'm a genetic scientist, of course, but there's just some things that don't happen by nature because they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to happen naturally. What am I getting? God, it's a busy news day. I got this news app on my phone and it just spits headlines at me all day long. And it's like, ugh. Bikini. Oh, yeah. I don't know why my chat quit scrolling here. Let's catch up. There we go. Make sure I'm with you. I've got a call here. I'm going to finish. No, I did finish that. So let's get to the call here. And this is coming from, I think this is Farm. Is this you, Farm?
It's me.
Hey. Brent? I'm doing good, brother. How you doing? Did you miss me?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I did. I totally missed you. I missed the show. I missed the chat room. I missed our community. Glad everyone's back, and I'm glad you had a good break. You look refreshed, so that's nice to see.
Yeah, I needed it. You sound very faint. Are you talking into your phone or?
How about now? Is this any better?
Much better. Yes.
Okay, I just had to speak up.
Oh.
Just wondering if you saw David Paulides' most recent video where he talks about the First Nations. I forget where this area was, but they were talking about a spot where they never go, and they recommend no one ever go. Oh, it was on Mount Shasta, I think.
Oh.
It was a really interesting,
I have not.
Explanation.
Yeah, what did he say?
What's that?
What were did they have more to it, or was it just a general warning, or was there a lot of backstory?
Well, they were recommending that no one takes their kids up there, and they were saying don't go beyond Rabbit Meadow. They recommend no one go beyond Rabbit Meadow, and they were wishing that the Forestry Service or whatever out there would heed their warnings about it and make those areas off limits.
Oh.
I just thought that was really interesting, and I don't know if that was a supernatural thing or a Bigfoot thing or what, but it got my attention, and I thought I would bring your attention to it in case you hadn't seen it yet.
No, I haven't, but I'm definitely going to check that out. I know that I think every tribe all over the face of North America had legends of some areas that they wouldn't go to, and then this is certainly it's not exclusively this one place on Mount Shasta. There's so many different areas that tribes would always say, don't go near there, don't go there. That's their place, or that's a place that you can't go or shouldn't go. If you go, terrible things will happen. I've heard a lot of those kind of stories through the years.
Yeah, I have too. And this one, they even specifically said that not, that people should not go near the spring at the top of the mountain. And they said it really bothered them that people went up there and threw coins or whatever in the spring to make a wish, and that they're basically sealing their fate in doing so.
Oh God. Oh, so it must be more supernatural, huh? By the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think it must be.
Yeah.
From the way the way he was talking about it. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. It was nice to hear a Native American warning like that come through from what I consider to be a credible source.
Yeah, I think anybody that's interested in finding cryptids or finding special areas to look, it would probably behoove them if they can get on good terms with the local tribes. There's always a lot of stories handed down, and it can sometimes be hard to get the information being an outsider, but if you can build a relationship, it would certainly be worth the time, because I'm sure they've been a part of these lands for thousands of years, and they know it a hell of a lot better than we do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they have a lot of wisdom that we don't necessarily recognize, from our disconnect from not being in the woods and our technology and that kind of stuff. And I think it would be good for us to at least hear what they have to say, and maybe we could learn something from it. But sadly, it doesn't seem to come through.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, Kathy in the chat says, Mount Shasta, legend of bears mating with humans. A chief's daughter was taken in by bears, mated, and then the chief cursed the bear to 4 legs. Oh, okay. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so interesting. I just thought I would bring it to your attention, and glad to have you back. Thanks for running the show.
Thank you, brother.
Excited to see the portal back online.
Yes, sir, but not Mondays and Tuesdays going forward either. So, but thank you, brother. I appreciate it, and thanks for calling in.
Yeah, no problem. And hey, that's okay. That'll give me a chance to get more done. So it works out for me too.
Amen, brother. All right, take care of yourself.
All right. Have a good night, you too, Brent.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that the First Nation wisdoms are priceless. Now, do I think that a chief cursed the bears to make them walk on 4 feet? No, I don't know. I have a hard time with that part, but I think that all of those legends are built around some kind of truth, and of course, they become something more in the retellings and in the explanations. But in the core of those things is something always pretty profound, and I think that that's a good roadmap to knowing what goes on in these areas, and what do we need to learn, or where could we go to learn more, or where shouldn't we go to learn more. I do believe some areas can be cursed. I believe that some areas can have just bad energy and are best left alone. And I think that there's a lot of people that are trying really hard to produce evidences and produce results of things. But I don't think it's worth putting yourself in danger. And especially in terms of the paranormal, there's so much we just don't know. We just don't know much about all of this. And so I think when you come by warnings like that, it's probably best to heed those, because there's so much we don't understand and there's so much liability with that, you know? So that's kind of my 2 cents anyway. But I think it's wise to pay attention to those stories. While I don't know that you can take them at face value, there's definitely some reason that story was developed, and there's some reason they stayed away from those places. But yeah, I mean, if that's a sacred spring, throwing coins in it is about the most stupid thing you could do. Jeez. All right. So the next one, as far as the cryptids, but I believe Momo is a Bigfoot. I don't believe it's some reptilian ape hybrid weird thing. It didn't look like your typical Bigfoot, but there again, if you pay attention to Bigfoot descriptions, and if you look at the human race, for God's sakes, look at the diversity that we have physically in the human race. It couldn't be any more profound. I mean, it's just, there's tall, there's short, there's big, there's little, there's fat, there's thin, there's, smart, there's dumb, there's, everything is represented in the human population on this planet. Every physical difference is represented on the face of this world. And so I think that this Momo was just, perhaps he was born different. He was physically different. And that's also probably why he was basically sticking close to these homes and grabbing house pets and goats and things, things that are kind of bound to a place, because he probably wasn't able to go and provide for himself out in the wilds. He was probably, challenged in some way physically, that the rest of his kind aren't. And so that was how he subsisted. Physically, he was described also as having an absolute shaggy mop of hair. Like his hair it wasn't just a Sasquatch kind of coat. It was just like a cousin it, but like a 7-foot tall cousin it that ate pets and terrified many people. And I don't think there's any accounts of it eating people. I don't know if people went missing and that's a possibility, but if it is indeed was somehow physically deformed, and either developmentally and physically or both, then the fact that it stayed close to people makes sense, because again, as we discussed a little bit ago, we're wasteful. We have all kinds of garbage and crap around, and we we throw things away that would be a buffet to the wild world. There's just so much foods that we just scrape off our plates into the garbage. Well, God, that's a huge meal to a wild animal. So why wouldn't a Bigfoot take advantage of that? Hell, if I was a Bigfoot, I would. I wouldn't want to be like digging for grubs on tree roots and stuff and trying to make it work that way. I'd rather be, hitting the dumpster to see if I can find some McDonald's or something, Just saying. I would. That's me. So I think that's, that makes perfect sense. But I don't think Mobo was something else. I think that it's just, he, she, it, whatever was just, different. And it took advantage of the easy living around people. So the next one is the Tattle Worm. And it's Tatzelwurm. It's a 10-foot reptilian cryptid inhabiting the European Alps. Some claim it's a big-sized lizard native to the area, but either misidentified by witnesses or the damaging result of an escaped pet reptile, such as a monitor lizard. In the 1930s, a man from Switzerland named Balkan took a picture of the creature, but scientists and cryptozoologists have long believed the photograph to be a hoax and hastily dismissed the evidence in 2008. Or no, dismiss the evidence, and then next sentence. In 2008, A girl reportedly saw the Tattle Worm while walking in the forest of northern Italy. She estimated the animal was about 10 feet in length and had a cat head. Its eyes, she said, were piercing, almost hypnotizing. So that's the Tattle Worm. Now, there's also, as I understand it, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but I used to watch Mountain Monsters, and when that show first came out, I was all excited. It's like, yeah, a bunch of hill people. They probably could find a lot of weird stuff, because, I mean, they lots of, hunters and trappers, and they're used to tracking things to figure out where they're going. Maybe they'd be good guys to try to sort out this weird Bigfoot and other phenomena things. So I was excited about that show. And then I actually watched it. And I know that John Tice Trapper has recently passed away, so I'm not casting aspersions. It was an entertaining show, but it was. I like to describe it as Scooby-Doo for adults, is what Mountain Monsters was, and they apparently did an episode about. They were all about the Appalachian Trail and the Appalachian Mountains and stuff. So they did an episode about some kind of lizard also, and they tried to trap it. Well, they tried to trap everything and never got anything to stick. But every one of the shows was a near miss, of course, because that was just good editing, I guess. But I did watch that and saw that reference on there. I don't know for a fact that there's a legend of a large lizard in Appalachia, but maybe there is. Maybe there is. It wouldn't surprise me much because, of course, large lizards have been part of the cryptid lore forever, all around the globe. And so that's why I just kind of readily accepted that maybe they built that episode on some true folklore, true references, not true folklore, but actual references of folklore. But, it's hard to know. I don't know the name of it anymore. I hadn't watched that since, God, I don't know, 10 years ago or more, whenever it was on TV. That's when I watched it back in the day before I had the portal. So, and the one thing I enjoyed about the show was that they did talk about these different creatures. And I found that fascinating, even though everything else about it was bunky. But, I had a lot of fun watching that show back in the day. But I got to say that once I finally accepted that, which was like on the first or second episode, I was like, wait a minute, this is a bunch of bunk, and then it became entertaining. But I always enjoyed the discussion about different creatures that were rumored to be around. So they never actually found anything or caught much of anything. But it's too bad too, because there was some alleged pics that they got on trail cam of a Sasquatch that I thought, just on glancing it out on the TV, was like, God, if that was real, that'd be really spectacular. But after realizing what the show was, I had to abandon those hopes that they were actually capturing evidence. So, but that was Mountain Monsters. Any of y'all watch that? Any of y'all watch Mountain Monsters? It's okay. You can admit it. I'm not going to judge you because I watched it too. At least I did for a while. I think I watched like part of the first season or maybe the whole first season. And then after that, I was just like, I can't even do it anymore because there was far too many people that were taking that as gospel. Like those guys were really out there and were working on, catching something. Now I think they perhaps really did have a research group, and that's maybe how it all started. But I think they just got, if I'm not saying they had no integrity, because I think they really were a group prior to the show, but I think the show and its producers and their desire to create entertaining television probably won a lot of arguments and created the farce that it became, which is too bad. But anyway. Yep, Brent, I fell for it for a short time. Yeah, Taz did too. Yeah, exactly. I tried. I was hoping, because I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Get some people that are mountain men, living up in the mountains in Appalachia, subsisting on trapping and hunting. And yeah, they might be great for catching something, or at least having stories of their very own. But no, it turned into a parody. I mean, everywhere they went, they were, they were all a bunch of big guys too. So they probably weren't climbing a lot of mountains. Anyway, it was a fun show, but God rest John Tice, bless you, and hope your journey's good. The next one is Spring-Heeled Jack. Now this one's a curious one, and it's been around for a long time. I haven't heard any recent claims of Spring-Heeled Jack, but it was all the rage for a long time from London. But it says, this peculiar creature brought the city of London to his knees and even required the intervention of the Lord Mayor of London, Sir John Cowan, in 1838. In order to calm down the population, a year earlier, a girl had been attacked by the Spring-Heeled Jack while walking the streets of the city. The perpetrator, an excessively tall, devil-looking man with a cape, was reported as capable of jumping walls up to 9 feet. His laughter, witnesses said, was high-pitched. After the initial attack in 1837, other sightings were reported around, and the cryptid became increasingly popular among Londoners. The uncanny similarities of these reports with the Mothman sightings brings a new theory to light. What if the Spring-Heeled Jack left a weary London on a ship headed to the North America in search of a better territory to pick his next victim? I don't know that it's the same thing or not. I've never heard of the Mothman laughing. In fact, I don't hear of it making any noise usually. I can't recall any noise being reported, but I don't know what this was. Maybe it was a vampire. I mean, maybe it was a real vampire. They're rumored to be out there. I tried to research real vampires for this show. And I can't find anything other than the counterculture, the kind of goth movement of people wearing fake fangs and drinking blood. Like, they really do that, but they're just people with, maybe you want to call it a fetish, maybe you want to call it a alternative lifestyle or whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever you want to define it as, but I couldn't find anything other than a few vague reports and some really old stuff having to do with, European ancient history and some of the scares that went on around those times. But I can't find anything about modern day sightings. The only thing I've found, and I found it on a television show, I think it was Monsters and Mysteries in America. One of their shows had to do with a person allegedly encountering what she believed was a vampire in New Orleans. And it doesn't. All of these legends are built on something, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I tend to think that what we understand as vampires is probably pretty closely related to the black-eyed phenomena, black-eyed kids, black-eyed adults, whatever, because a lot of the lore seems to better describe them than it does some blood-sucking creature. But the woman had quite an encounter, allegedly. But I can't find much about it, because I'd love to do a real show about the possibility that there are these supernatural creatures out there. But I don't know. Hollywood got a hold of the legends, and it became shiny and sparkly and teenage love affairs. I don't know. But anyway, that's Spring-Heeled Jack. So maybe Spring-Heeled Jack was a vampire. It would certainly account for the jumping and the leaping being lighter than air in some ways. I don't know. I don't know what happened to the woman that was attacked. I don't know if she was beaten or mauled, or was she, what actually happened. But anyway, the next is the Pope Lick Monster, and this one is a curious one. Don't hear a lot about it, but it's out there. It's an ugly human-goat hybrid living beneath the Norfolk Southern Railway in Louisville, Kentucky. Goat legs transport the body of this horned human, it says human-like face creature, exhibiting the eyes of a snake, which witnesses claim to be hypnotic. It's believed that the Pope Lick Monster lures its victims onto the trestle in order to get them killed by the oncoming train. Often victims claim to see a standing figure in the middle of the road that right after pulling over for fear of running over someone, a sudden noise erupts from the roof of their cars, and all the eyewitnesses report a sudden, irrational sense of fear and even hearing words inside their heads asking them to pull over so they can meet their demise. The creature's origins are unknown, although some theories point to the possibility of a mistreated circus freak, similar to the Blair Witch legend, swore revenge on the town of Louisville. The last known reported sighting was in 2012, when a man coming home from work had a close encounter with the beast after stopping his car to urinate. The person explained that as soon as he felt the wind howling or the wind blowing on the back of his head, he began to experience auditory hallucinations, and that a tall, dark figure emerged out of nowhere coming at him with an axe. He was able to get to his vehicle and leave the area before the ominous figure got close. Well, that's terrifying. That's horrible. I don't know. That's got to be terrifying. Wow. There's just 20 minutes left. Where did the night go, ladies and gentlemen? Huh. That's weird. There's a link on the Spring Hill Jack one, so let me see if there's something more. Oh, it's just a Wikipedia link. Never mind. So we got a lot of traction out of that one article. It led us on a chain of them, and special thanks to cryptozoologynews.com for all that content. That's awesome. Very cool. Let's see the Crypto Cruise link there. We don't need to see them. Nice guys and all, but yeah, there we go. We followed that chain all the way through, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed all those. They were fun. Here's a story that you don't hear much. There's a few stories like this coming around here and there, but they're extraordinarily rare, and but they do come up. And it's I was specifically looking for stories of Bigfoot saved me because I thought that'd be kind of fun to talk about some of those claims that are out there. And I've heard a few stories through the years of people saying that Bigfoots have saved them. One person, there was a story I was looking for specifically, had to do with a guy that was, I think he was kind of canoeing up the river, up this remote river, and ended up getting like terribly sick on his journey. Like I think he ate something and just did horribly. And he got so sick and weak, he had, he was purging all of his fluids and was probably going to die. But then he started finding these berries and things and other foods being left for him in a specific way. And he started eating them and he over a period of days got better. And he said that he did see, as I recall, he did see that what was leaving them was a Bigfoot. And I think that is fascinating. And I suppose, if you're thinking of a being that lives wild, they can probably smell when we're purging things and probably can diagnose it to a degree and know that there are some natural things that are in the area that could help that and help him feel better. I don't know if he got dysentery or what, but he was plenty sick and he was fading fast, but it was there, this helpful Sasquatch that allegedly brought him everything he needed. I think there was one about a woman too. There's one also about a former park ranger or a park ranger. She might still be, I don't know, but I couldn't find the full version. There's lots of videos of the story out there on YouTube, but I thought it'd be fun to cover that as well because that's the other side of it. But the story that I'm going to share with you now is about people saving a Bigfoot. And that's even rarer. I've heard a few coming out of forest fire areas. I've heard some such stories like that. Again, I don't know about their authenticity. I don't know anything about them as to the veracity of such claims, but there are out there that people allegedly, even official groups have stumbled onto Bigfoot and possibly helped them. before leaving them to be. But this one said a Russian hunter claims he saved something that can only be described as Bigfoot from a frozen river in central Siberia. Russian news agency Itar TASS quoted a source in the administration of the Tashtalog district of the Perm region, PERM, as saying that the incident took place in April this year near the village of, you can't ask me to say that word, Senzaskyi Kichi? I don't know. The village is located 140 kilometers away from the nearest human settlement, and the only connection with its residents is by helicopter. The latest flight to the village brought back a written report about the encounter with the so-called Bigfoot. The letter read that professional hunter Afanasy Kiskorov, together with several other hunters, was fishing when they heard a loud cracking of ice and a howl. And when they approached the source of the noise, the hunters saw an unusual creature described as like a huge man covered in dark brown fur. The creature was in the river about 10 meters from the bank, and it unsuccessfully tried to get out of the water and stand upright. Kiskorov rushed to the rescue and reached out for the drowning creature with a dry tree branch. Bigfoot then grabbed the branch, got up onto shore, and walked away. Authorities in the Kinirovo region have repeatedly released stories of Bigfoot sightings over the past few years. According to them, those interested in cryptozoology could help to develop the Siberian tourism industry. So there you have it. A man saved a Bigfoot. That's pretty cool. I don't know what that gives you, but it's a hell of a story. I guess it stands to reason. Hell, lots of animals fall through the ice and can't make it out. And lots of people fall through the ice. I don't know if Bigfoot suffers from hypothermia quite as easily as people do, but I imagine if it's cold enough and it's stuck, it's going to die sooner or later. Nothing can live in the icy water for long unless it's a marine creature. I don't know. That's a cool story, though. I thought you guys might like that. And it's dated 2010, 29th of April, 2010. So it was 9 years ago it was updated. So I guess that's quite a tale. I guess it's 10 years now. But anyway, Overbuilt Automotive, whoever coined the phrase quiet as a mouse has never stepped on one. That's horrible. That's horrible. No, it didn't sound like it was a baby Bigfoot. Siberia has plenty of Bigfoot sightings. Yeah, Duke, you're right. There's a lot going up there, but there's not much development up there even still. It's kind of like Alaska. There's some places that are only accessible by air. You can't get there any other way unless you're willing to dog sled it through. But, yeah, that's pretty intense. I suppose, and the funny thing is, so if Bigfoot do die in the ice, where's the bodies? Did they just sink? Or do you suppose other Bigfoots find them in the thaw and then bury them? I mean, I firmly do believe that Bigfoot probably do dispose of their own dead. I think it's a behavior that's seen, it's well known that Neanderthals used to bury their dead and actually had pretty ornate ceremonies, including flowers and stuff. And some people believe that that's where we came up with the bringing flowers to graves, is from the Neanderthals. But I don't know if that's true or not, obviously. But it doesn't surprise me at all that Bigfoot would collect the dead and have a reverence for the dead. If they are as intelligent as we believe they are, a lot of people just regard them as animals. And then it does become hard to understand, well, what's going on with the bodies? Why aren't we finding bodies? Because like with animals, most animals, they'll certainly mourn the passing of something, but they don't generally bury it. They just kind of get over it and then walk away. And I don't mean get over it in a dismissive way. I know that, I think for many intelligent animals, death is just as hard on them as it is on us. It's not like we've got the emotional center here. I think that's other intelligent animals do as well, like elephants and larger mammals, I think do. So I think that they also maybe have a spirituality. Like the Bigfoot may very well have some kind of spirituality. And if they are telepathic, and if they are perhaps as intelligent or more intelligent than us, then it only stands to reason that there would be some kind of basis or idea of what happens after this. Again, we don't have the exclusivity on that thought either, I don't think. Although we don't know that, and it's largely speculation, but what if they do? Well, then burying your dead is going to be important, as well as honoring that life through a ceremony of burial is important, obviously to us. So if they are like us in that regard, then they would embrace that as well. I don't know why that's such a leap for some people in the community to embrace. I guess maybe it helps some people to just think of these things as an animal, because then it's not as intimidating. Then it's just an animal. It's doing what an animal does, but they don't behave like an animal. They don't seem to follow the normal animalistic trends in a lot of ways. It seems like they have a culture, that they have a code of ethics, for lack of a better term. It seems like they have something like that they are very developed in their approach to life and living their lives and remaining away from us, at least consciously away from us. I think they're plenty aware of us, but I think they're also plenty aware that we're not very aware of them for the most part. But I think for sure they would bury their dead. That makes perfect sense to me, and I can't imagine they're less smart than a Neanderthal. So just my 2 cents, whatever that's worth. I thought I heard that some primates do this too, and bury their dead. Like I don't know if it's bonobos or where, but I just heard recently about primates that do that. They bury their own dead. So even if they are an ape, apparently it's not out of the bounds to consider that they might bury them. And the other reason why is because you don't want to leave parts of your ancestors laying around, or your family members laying around for things to chew on. And that's the developed emotional states, I think. Again, it's just me putting ideas together, trying to come to some kind of logic with it, but it seems to me it makes sense. The siren-looking monster. All right. So I'm just looking at the chat here quick. And there's no calls, but we are actively running out of time. We're at 52 minutes after the hour. So we're just about on the last part of the journey. But I hope you like that one. If you guys ever run across stories like this, please feel free to message me about them. Send me a link and email. I'd love to check them out and possibly include them in the shows, because I do my best to research these things as well as I'm able, but you guys that are into this stuff are always out there looking at information and stuff. Video links are fine. I mean, I don't mind checking out videos, but if you're going to send me stuff, I would prefer that it was article kind of stuff that we can use for the show, whether it's a topic or whatever. I love the idea of you guys, helping. If you want to hear more about a specific topic, message me. I can't always do it, but I'll try to honor those, because I want to give you guys the shows you want, and part of that is just tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you'd like to hear me talk about on the shows, or if you want to participate with that as well, I'm good with it. Just call in. We can discuss anything as long as it's paranormal. So, I guess that's, there's, again, Saturday night, remember, Stephen Major of Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC will be coming on the show, along with Dr. Robert Alley. And the gentleman's name is Will Ulmer. I don't know if it's the Grassman Ulmer. He's got 3 names: Will Grassman Ulmer. And I do apologize because I'm not familiar with him personally, but I know he's been a part of some of the expeditions for Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC, and they were the ones that went up to Alaska and did the whole Port Chatham Hairy Man documentary, and you can check that out on Amazon Prime. The Port Chatham Hairy Man. Search for the Port Chatham Hairy Man. It was really well done, and that's Stephen Major and his team went up to Port Chatham and investigated that phenomenon. Now, Port Chatham is infamous as a site that had a very murderous Sasquatch. It was tearing apart villagers and letting them wash down the stream to the village, and it was a developed and industrialized fishing village that was abandoned because of the fear that people had for this creature that was tearing apart people and sending parts of them down the water to the village. And so they left. It's a ghost town. It's uninhabited. And in fact, the locals still don't want to go there. And if you watch the search of the Port Chatham Hairy Man, you'll learn more about that. But they had sincere trouble finding anybody to even take them there for their expedition. So it was really, really well done. Check it out, again, on Amazon Prime. And you won't be disappointed. It's a great story. They did a great job recording that adventure and the experiences they had there. And it's well worth it. I'm really excited for their new film to come out because I know their first one was amazing. So I'm looking forward to the next one. But they'll be coming out on Saturday, so join us on Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on our YouTube channel, and we'll get into that. Friday will be just me, as far as I know, unless I can line up something in the next couple of days. But I'll be back tomorrow night with the Night Terrors, so 1 hour of ghostly encounters right here on our YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I hope you'll join me then. But anyway, guys, I guess that's going to wrap up our journey tonight. Please check out the podcast. Please, if you're not already, subscribe and like the video. The likes go a long way. They really help us out. And it helps other people learn about the show because the likes show interaction, which shows the algorithm that there's some content there that people are responding to. So YouTube is much more likely to recommend our videos to other people in the recommended video list that everybody gets when you're on YouTube. That's the list of videos that's on the right panel as you're watching your video. So please do that. Please give us a like. A comment is great too. That really helps out showing interaction as well. So like, comment, and subscribe, please. And let other people know about it if you would. It'll help us to grow and become bigger, better, and greater than we are now. So I'm just thrilled to be back. Thank you guys for the nice warm welcome back. It was only 2 days, but it felt like a lot longer, didn't it? But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow night, so I will see you then. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, whatever's going on in your worlds. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate it. Looking at the chat quick. Love to all the portal. Oh, Hannah. Thank you, Jordan. That's sweet. Just got back again. You had to leave for a few. Oh, well, welcome back, AJ. Yeah, it's great to see you guys, too. Thanks, Farm. Thanks for the call, too, brother. And I'll be back again tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I hope you'll be here. But they'll be every night in the week except for Monday and Tuesdays. So on Mondays and Tuesdays, you can watch the archives or check out one of our friends' shows. Lots of stuff going on. So definitely stay tuned. But that's all I got for you tonight, everybody. Love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other and help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. That's an order. All right. All right. Good night, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow night. Until then, sweet dreams.